Hi everyone, it's Ricky Knight here, and I'm really looking forward today to actually sharing with you this short presentation all about the 5 key characteristics that the world's best online gurus all share. Now, I mean, I got into this industry well, it would be January, February 2009. So certainly not as long as some of these guys have been doing it for. But I was really interested to sort of try and find out what it is that they do. What are the habits that they've got that no one else has? And I'll tell you the reason that this sort of journey has been progressing. The main thing is one of the early stats that was shared with me by someone, and it was actually that 95% of people that attempt this industry fail, and only a very small proportion of certainly no more than 5% actually succeed in this industry. So that really kind of, rather than put me off, because obviously the odds are stacked against you, that really sort of got me interested into sort of trying to find out what it is that these guys are doing, and to be brutally honest with you, try and emulate some of that. So these are the guys that I started researching, and I'm sure there's some sort of familiar faces there. There's Dan Kennedy and George Brown, Frank Kern, John Rees, to name a few, and they all share some very, very similar characteristics, and I've studied this at length. I've sort of gone through the material that they write and the blogs that they've written and the interviews that they've given, and they all share these very same characteristics. Now, what are they exactly? What are the 5 characteristics then that they all share? And I'll go through these in a little bit more detail throughout this short presentation, but they all have goals. They've all mastered the basics. They've learned the enormous power of leverage. They remain students, and they're determined and persistent. Okay. So just moving on then in a little bit more detail. The goals. Yeah, I mean, the dictionary says a goal is an aim or a purpose. It's a plan of action, something that you're definitely going to do. And I suppose this isn't just important in the world of internet marketing. It's really important, if you want to be an Olympic athlete, if you want to be a top sports person, if you want to get to the top of your field, whatever that might be. And some goals need to be big. They really do. There are all types of goals that you can have, but you've got to start with the big ones, I would suggest, and because that creates the excitement necessary for maximum accomplishment in what it is that you're doing. But the top guys, they see it big. They write it down. They see it big before they actually make it big. And the really, really successful marketers, they've got quite a long-term view with this, and they're not just looking at their short-term goals and looking at where they want to be next week. They know exactly where they want to be in a month from now, 6 months, a year, even 5 years from now. These guys have been on the record as saying they know where their business is going. They know they've got a picture, a vision of what their business is going to be looking like in 5 years from now. And the only way that that all comes to life is if you've actually got some clearly defined goals. Now, something certainly from my previous life and my corporate career that I always used very effectively, and I continue to use this day, is the SMART acronym. Okay, so sort of talking through each of these individually. Be specific. So this is all about, as I say, setting your goals. Be specific. This is the what. What is the goal? So, for example, rather than just say, I want more visitors to my website, say something like, I want 1,000 more visitors to my website. You need to put a timeline on that as well. You need to put sort of by when you want that. You've got to be very as specific as you can, that will sort of certainly make it a lot more achievable. The next one on the list there is measurable. if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. You've got to set measurable targets along the way. Okay, so again, using the hits on the website as an example, if you want 1,000 hits per week within exactly 6 months, then you've got to be able to sort of measure your progress along the way. So look where you are at the end of each week. I mean, personally, I'd be looking at it on a daily basis, but certainly you need to be looking at where you are on a weekly basis, just to make sure that you're making progress. Bite-sized chunks. It doesn't matter how little that progress is, but just check whether you're on track to hit that goal, that specific goal that you've set for sort of 6 months time from now. Attainable. It's got to be a goal that is going to stretch you, but at the same time not feel too far out of your reach that your subconscious mind doesn't believe it's possible. Obviously that's subjective, but you've just got to make sure that it's a realistic goal. It's going to stretch you. It's not easy, but at the same time, it's definitely doable. That sort of goes hand in hand actually with realistic, because I suppose it's got to be challenging, and it might need resources that you haven't already got. You might need some kind of external education, you might need some extra training, you might need some professional advice from a mentor or something like that to help you achieve your goal. But as long as you achieve all of that, you do all of that, then again it's going to be very much achievable. So those two, as I say, go hand in hand. And I suppose, again, a good example of those two sort of coming together is that if right now, I don't know, you're receiving 50 hits a week on your website, and you want to be able to increase this to 1,000 hits per week. Is this attainable? Well, of course it is. But if you're saying that you want 1,000 hits by, let's say, next week, that's not realistic. But again, we put that timescale in, a realistic timescale of say 6 months. That's a lot more realistic. Your subconscious can believe that. It's going to take some work. You might need to get some, as I say, external tuition or courses or help. But as long as you get all of that, then it's very much achievable. The last one here on the SMART acronym is the timeline. So you've got to set a deadline. If you need to, as I said earlier, need to then sort of break that down into bite-sized chunks along the way, that's absolutely fine. But just make sure that you set a deadline for when you're going to be crystallizing this goal. Okay, so that's all about the actual goals, setting goals, and the importance of it. The second thing that the internet gurus all share is this is quite simple actually. They have all mastered the basics. They don't complicate things, so certainly in my short experience online now, there's a lot of noise out there on the internet, and it's so easy to get distracted and confused and forget about the basics. And when I say the basics, I mean fundamentally internet marketing is all about sending traffic to your website, converting that traffic into sales. It's no more complicated than that. And as long as you can do these two things, then you're guaranteed to succeed. Okay, so that's probably easier said than done. I suppose then it's all about the how. That sounds great, sort of saying it just like that, but how does that work? And I'll be honest with you, everyone. I mean, my first sort of 3 to 6 months, I was trying to figure all of this out for myself, and I bought sort of various courses that promised the world and failed to deliver, and it was sort of very frustrating, I've got to admit. But my progress really accelerated when I actually sort of paid for some external help from a professional mentor, and he sort of brought me back to the basics, focus on the traffic first, and he actually suggested that I invest in George Brown's Traffic Ultimatum course. Now, it would be all too easy for me to promote this as an affiliate, but I don't want to do that because I think that would dilute the message that I'm trying to give here. I mean, trust me, I've tried so many different traffic generation courses, techniques, programs, and this is without a doubt head and shoulders above everything else. So I'm not trying to promote that to earn any extra money out of it, and it would be easy for me to do that, but I'm not doing that. All I suggest is that at $77, it's an absolute bargain. Go out there, get it, and if you haven't already, take your business to the very next level. So yeah, and that really takes care of a lot of the other stuff. You know, getting traffic to your site, and then you know the actual conversion of the traffic as well. So moving on to the third trait then that they all share is the power of leverage. How can I put it better than what it says right there on the screen? It's a question that all the successful marketers, in fact, not just the in the internet world, you know, these are really successful business people. They all ask that very question: as how can I get better productivity out of each 24-hour period? Because you've got to remember, we all have exactly the same amount of hours in the day. So why is it some people are so much more productive than others? And a lot of it is down to the systems that are in place, that they use, they utilize, outsourcing, all of that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, the really successful people, they're not thinking in terms of saving time, they're really thinking in terms of leveraging time. Yeah, I mean, what I would actually suggest in this instance, a fantastic system that, again, it was shared with me sort of early on in the sort of first 6 to 9 months of my internet marketing career, and it's SE Nuke, so search engine nuke. Fantastic bit of kit that it does all of the, again, the basic stuff. I mean, you know, talking about your article writing, your spinning of articles, getting it out there on the various article directories, utilizing the power of video, the sort of social networking sites, and you know as well as I do that there's so many of them, and what SE Nuke does is it just cuts out so much of that time. You could even take it to another level and outsource the SE Nuke system to the Philippines or India. Send the instructions over of the course to someone out there and get them doing it for sort of $4 or $5 an hour. Go on to sort of something like elance.com and you can do that. But initially, I would just suggest that you sort of try and do it yourself and then look at outsourcing it later on once you've got some money coming in. But that's just one of the systems that I would suggest. But it's definitely something. A lot of these really successful guys, they have more than one system. They have various systems, but certainly they're outsourcing a lot of the work that they do as well, and that really does help leverage their time that they can then use to sort of spend with the sort of families and everything, or just spend on something else that they're actually sort of really good at, which is the marketing side of things. Right, okay, so moving on to the fourth characteristic. All of them, without doubt, remain studious. They have an absolute appetite and thirst for knowledge. They keep learning. Whether it's, as it says on the screen here, whether it's books, DVDs, CDs, again, making use of the time that, for example, they're in the car. I mean, I've been doing this now for, as I say, sort of well over 18 months, and whenever I am in the car, and my wife will kill me for saying this because she absolutely hates it, but I'm listening to CDs the whole time, whether it's Napoleon Hill, whether it's just sort of stuff that's all about self-improvement, whether it's just getting into the right mindset, or whether it's very much industry specific. There's loads of stuff out there that can be used, and if you've got a long journey, you're spending time in the car, then don't listen to the radio. Get some CDs and just make the most of it and use that time efficiently. Seminars, these guys, they're still going to seminars. They've been going to seminars for over 10 years and they're still investing in going to seminars wherever that may be, and utilising the power of the web, using webinars as well to just keep on learning. This is a really fast moving industry, and if you're not right at the forefront, then you're going to get left behind. So yeah, all of this stuff is really, really important. And my actual suggestion, again, it's something that I picked up in a fantastic book by a gentleman called Jeff Olson, which is a book called The Slight Edge. And he talks about getting into the habit, okay? The habit of just starting. If you're not reading at all, then just start with reading 10 pages from a self-improvement or industry-specific book, something that's going to improve you. Just get into the habit of reading 10 pages per day. Doesn't sound like a great deal, but if you're doing that every single day, then over the course of a month, you're going to have read a book. Okay, over a year, that's 12 books that you wouldn't have read before. Now just imagine if you can double that, if you can actually find the time to just read 20 pages a day, then all of a sudden that's 2 books a month. That's 24 books a year that you wouldn't have actually read. So as I say, it's just starting the habit. Get the habit going and just let time then take care of the rest. Okay. So yeah, that's a really important one. And the fifth is determination and persistence. Yeah, I mean, I sort of alluded to it earlier. I mean, one of the main reasons that such a high number of people fail at internet marketing is they give up when things don't go according to plan. And you know what it's like. You get into this, you get sucked into this industry with hype and promise, and you get everything set up, and you spend money on pay-per-click or whatever it might be, and things don't happen, and you don't make any money. And it's very frustrating, and obviously there's sort of false promises along the way as well, and people do genuinely just give up, which is a real shame, because I think if more people could just, it probably goes back to the first point actually about having those goals sort of very clear in your mind, and you know, if you've kind of got that, then giving up becomes a little bit more difficult. In fact, what I would actually suggest when it comes to this particular character trait is, first of all, you know, to actually just write down your reasons for starting this business. Why are you in this industry? How much do you want it? Why do you want to succeed? How important is it that you succeed? And write it all down and have it, you know, near your desk, so you can see it. So it's just being programmed into your subconscious mind. And trust me, if you have a strong enough motive to brush off the difficulties that you're going to encounter, then, and you've got this sort of unwavering belief in yourself, then you will, the sky's the limit, to be honest with you. You can achieve absolutely anything. And again, a book that I personally would recommend to cement this particular trait would be one by Anthony Robbins. I'm sure a lot of guys have already read this book already, Awaken the Giant Within. It's all about self-belief, and again, just sort of getting the right mindset. And trust me, if you haven't read it already, then invest in that. It's probably about $10-15 off Amazon. And you won't want to put it down once you've started reading, but certainly once you've finished, you'll be a much better person for it. And famous quote there by Zig Ziglar, just on the screen: "When obstacles arise, you change your direction to reach your goal. You do not change your decision to get there." I couldn't put it any better myself. So yeah, that's the, as I say, sort of fifth and final character trait that all these guys share. So just to summarise. They have goals, they've mastered the basics, they've learned the enormous power of leverage, they remain students, and they're determined and persistent. Now, if everyone can master those 5 traits, then I assure you, you'll be in that top 5% as well.